Welcome back. The form has been questionable. As we've seen in the last episode, the start of the season has not been to our expectations. We've tinkered, we've tweaked, and hopefully we're starting to see a little bit of form creep back into the squad. We obviously lost 2-1 to Harrogate in that last game that you saw on camera. We then went away and lost 4-1 at home to York. I know York were one of the better sides in the league, but losing 4-1 at home was humiliating. The only good thing is Hugh Gill did score, so is he starting to pick up some form? We then went away and beat Woking 1-0 and went away and beat Barnet 1-0. So today we're back with the Scarborough Athletic game, as we said, and we'll have Tamworth as well in this episode. And hopefully this little sprinkling of form, we can sort of carry that into the next couple of games. Remember, we haven't actually, apart from beating Sutton United, we haven't actually won until obviously we've just beaten Woking. August as well, we're so heavy on fixtures, so hopefully we can have a little bit more respite and get more prepared in between these games. So in terms of the matchday squad for our game against Scarborough Athletic is pretty much unchanged, if I'm honest. I'm really sort of sticking with the same starting 11 from the outset of games because I want these guys to really start to gel and sort of get back to winning ways that we had last season. Remember, I don't think we were ever as low in the league as 16th as we were in the last episode. So it's worrying that we've obviously dropped down that far. Of course, it is our second season, so teams have worked us out a little bit more. So we have tweaked it, as you can probably see from the tactic on the screen. What I've done is I've dropped McEachran a little bit more deeper, just so we can have a little bit more of a presence in the centre of midfield. I've also obviously got Boswell and Clark, but what I probably will do is swap them over and I'll probably bring in Petrie to play on the right side of that attacking midfield. Other than that, it's pretty much unchanged. We're still going to stick with Hugh Gill. However, actually, should we stick with Hugh Gill or do we go with Mellor? This is the decision that's going to keep haunting me now because I want Hugh Gill to get into form, but also I don't want it to cost us games. So I think we'll have Mellor on the bench and we'll start with Hugh Gill. So I think in terms of what we're going to say to the boys, I think it's very much the same as before, really. We need to go on and carry on with how we've been playing. I'm just going to say we've been in a good run of form. I mean, we've only won 2 games, right? But apparently that's a good run of form. I don't think that is compared to our expectations from what we had last season, but the board is still happy with us. They're still ecstatic with the way that we've been performing. I mean, is that a worry that they're ecstatic with it? Meaning that their expectations are quite low, which does mean the finances are quite low. Like I said in the first episode, I managed to release more of the fringy players, but that wage budget was already used from last season because they didn't give me anything more. So I only had what I could release from them to bring in other players. So we have to question whether long-term Oxford City are going to have the same, I guess, desire to carry on pushing us up the league. The 5-year plan that the board have suggested is that they just want to become established, but not until that 5th year of the National League, and they're hopeful. Tate Campbell there scores a goal off of a deflection, but they're quite happy for us to continue sort of fighting and battling relegation over the next couple of seasons, which I think if I had a little bit more money, we could most certainly add a couple more sprinkles of gold dust into the team, and we would be challenging again, arguably challenging for the league title, I believe, with the sort of foundations that we've already got in the squad. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. We're going to want to obviously carry on progressing our career. We don't want to stagnate, and we don't want to just be sort of sitting in a mid-table, sort of just getting into playoffs. I know we comfortably got into playoffs last year, but just getting into playoffs and sort of carrying on from that sort of vein of form or vein of expectations. The balance of the club as well is they're 200 grand in the red, and I'm not over my wage budget, I'm under my wage budget, so there's not enough money coming in to then increase the budgets. Understandably, we're £200,000 in debt. In the same breath, we're going to need more money to bring in more money. I only managed to balance the books last season because we had such an impressive run in the FA Cup. Can we do that again this season? Potentially. But we're going to have to obviously rely on us getting into good form before them FA Cup games to then bring that money into the club. And that's only just them balancing the books. It's not actually putting us into profit that we can then capitalise and either get some more wage budget or even start to improve some of the facilities. Also, I did ask them, I don't know how, we're only at 9 minutes. I also asked them to see if we could go professional, get more training time, be able to do specific training sessions in more detail so we can improve them players that we've got that little bit more. But the club just can't afford for us to go professional. So we have to potentially consider our options after we see this season play out. But we just go 2-0 up, which is great. I mean, we're talking about the future, but, the present is here and now. And we're 2-0 up against Scarborough Athletic, and we're hopefully going to carry on in terms of getting a little bit of form. I love that little touch past his marker there to then slot it into the back of the net. In terms of the live league table, what we are doing is we're currently... It does put us up to 6th. I thought we was further down here as you saw me scroll, but it puts us up to 6th. So we're not performing, apart from the sort of form that we've had before the first episode. During the first episode. We've picked up 2 wins off camera. We're obviously winning in this game. So it's not terrible, but we have to question. Hugo's in, does nothing with it. We have to question whether we can take the team that next step forward. So it's something for us to deliberate. And of course, deliberate in the comments. What do you think? Do we reckon that there's going to be enough financial power there to bring the club up a little bit in terms of their expectations? When you're negotiating your season sort of plans, usually you get the option to select a sort of slightly higher target, right, to get more budgets. Hugo then gets the header. Lovely. That's what we want to see. He needs to be scoring. You can get them budgets slightly higher by going for higher objectives. But the board didn't even give me the option of that. They just were happy with avoid relegation. There was no higher option for me to select. So we have to keep an eye on that. But right now, we're 3-0 up against Scarborough Athletic. We're absolutely laughing. Obviously, the change in formation and sort of packing out that midfield has definitely had a good impact on the team. And hopefully it means that Hugo can get maybe a little bit more service, because the wingers and the fullbacks, as we just saw there, are all aiming for Hugo. Every single individual instruction is to aim for the forward. Put it in that centre position. Killer Ferrari and Pennington are to hit early crosses. With Clark and Petrie, or whoever the wingers are, they are to get to the byline and then whip the crosses in. Give him as much service as possible. Because if he can thrive, we can thrive. And then my whole conversation that we've just had could potentially be irrelevant, right? If we manage to go up, then we'll be laughing. We'll definitely be getting the money into the club to balance the books and definitely be getting more wage budget. But we have to go up to be able to do that. So we're going to have to claw our way up the league. Petrie's in there. Unfortunately, just drives his shot wide. But that's enough of me rambling, right? Let's concentrate on the game. We're 4-0 up. We're absolutely cruising. 31 minutes played. I still feel like I've absolutely rambled for ages, yet we're only 32 minutes into the game. So it's been absolute highlights galore, which I suppose is good for us to see, because it shows the team are buying into the slight tweak in the formation, the slight tweak in the tactics. And it's performing well on the pitch. Clark here, Hugill tries to get the header away. McEachran, sorry, shall I say. As we found out in a previous video that we were still pronouncing that wrong. We're on the attack again. It's all been us. Every single highlight we've seen has been us. I don't actually think Scarborough Athletic have even had a shot on target, and we'll see that in the match stats in a moment. Ooh, Tate Campbell with an absolute rocket that comes off it. No, they have had 2 shots on target, but they've only got an XG of 0.26. So we're definitely performing a lot better than them. To be expected, they are 22nd in the league, but this is going to be good for the goal difference. Like I said, we lost 4-1 to York. Let's eradicate that difference in the goal difference, and then let's actually go on now and potentially get even more goals under the belt. That's what we need. Our goal difference last year was the thing that, if we remember rightly, because of the form that we had at the end of the season, our goal difference realistically was the thing that was kind of that little golden ticket into the playoffs. We knew we were going to get the playoffs, even if we just drew that last game of the season because of the goal difference. So if we can get the goal difference up again, of course, I'd rather have more points on the board, but at least let's go for one objective at a time, and we can go and get another 2 or 3 goals against Scarborough Athletic today. That is going to do absolute wonders for us. But I hope you've been enjoying the series. And of course, we're now in season 3. It's been an incredible journey so far with Oxford City. We've had some real ups, going up in the playoffs. The FA Cup for 3rd round against QPR also comes into an extreme low because of the way that we went out and conceded that last minute. I suppose a low is obviously losing to York in the fashion that we did in the playoffs last season as well. But it has been something that has been very enjoyable. And if you have been enjoying it, don't forget to hit that like button. And obviously, if you're new around here, subscribe to continue watching the rest of the journey. But of course, in that last episode, I asked for some comments in terms of where we think we may end up. And it was a mixed reaction, as to be expected with how we saw the form. But hopefully, the last 2 games, and obviously the one we're seeing now, is going to be a turning point. And it's going to be that platform that we build on and just push on from there. What we'll probably do, we're 70 minutes played now, we're cruising, so we're going to make some subs. I won't take Hugo off because he is on for a hat-trick, and I don't want to not have him get a hat-trick for the first time for us here at Oxford City, but we're going to just rest some of our potential more key players. We'll take Scar off as well. You watch, I'll do this, and then we'll go on and start conceding, and then I will be miserable. But that's the risk we take, right? We don't want to risk injuries, but also we don't want to throw the game away. But I feel like with the quality that has just come off the bench, it should be well enough to be able to maintain this result. So 80 minutes played, 4-0 up. Long ball over the top by them. Johnson deals with it well. See, he's starting to switch back on now. And that's what the defence is doing. So Briggs, I just said that, and the right back, the cut's just come on, has done nothing. Wright comes out to win the ball, or at least collect the loose ball. Briggs is there. I was just about to say what I do like about Briggs is he's got a 17 jumping reach, so he normally wins quite a lot. But if he's going to win it and just do this with it, actually, is that Briggs? We didn't win the second ball. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. But that is a good thing if we're going to be pegged back and conceding a lot of set pieces potentially from defending. Briggs with a jumping reach of 17 and heading, I think, of around 12. He's definitely someone who we can consider sticking on at centre-back, or maybe even potentially going at a 5 at the back. Have Francis come in or Briggs come in. Killer Ferreri actually in the left wing back and Pinnington in the right wing back, and have a little bit more solidity there if we need to. So I'm just going to say that I'm happy with the performance. It was a good performance. Disappointing that we conceded one towards the end, but we'll take it. 4-1 win. Obviously that then means we're now unbeaten in 3. So we'll take that, considering obviously we hadn't picked up a win for the 5 previous games before that. So the plan is, like I said, I'm going to skip the Man United under-21s game in the National Cup. And then what I'll do is I'll bring us back for the Tamworth game. What I might do is just see where they're positioned in the league, because it might be that I bring you back for the Scunthorpe game instead, depending. Where are Tamworth in the league? Tamworth are 23rd, Scunthorpe 16th. Maybe Scunthorpe will be a bit more of a game for us to see. I'll see how things are going, depending on what happens after the Man United under-21s. So I bring you back for the Tamworth game. As we saw and as we said, we were going to skip the game against Man United under-21s. Fortunately, we lost 5-1. I just fully rotated the squad pretty much. Only like 1 or 2 potential first-team players, maybe 3 if you count Mellor as well. Everyone else I rotated. There's not going to be a lot of money in that tournament for us. So we've got Wright in goal. Briggs is going to start over Pinnington. Pinnington's not fully fit. Johnson, Scara and Boswell. We're not having Boswell. No, we're not having Boswell there. We rotated Boswell there. We're having the youngster Killer Ferreri. He's wanted by quite a lot of clubs now. Swansea came in on the last, I think it was the last day of the transfer window, or something happened, and I thought I was already out of the transfer window, the summer one, but they came in. I rejected it because they offered me 14,000, and I said, well, I'll let him leave for 100, but they didn't want to go up to 100, and now he's got a slight concern because he would like to play with Swansea because he wants to play in a higher league. So January, he might be going, but I want at least 100 grand for him. The club are in a little bit of turmoil with the finances. Let me actually show you that whilst we are talking on it, and then we'll get straight into the game at Tamworth. So if we have a look at the finances at the minute, we're currently now 236,000 in the red. It doesn't bode well for long-term projections either. At the end of this season, they reckon we're going to be £800,000 in debt. 1.7 the season after, 2.57 after that. Of course, this doesn't include any FA Cup money that we can bring in. So I guess pressure is on my shoulders to make sure we're bringing in the FA Cup money to try and help balance them books as much as we can. But that's going to be our starting 11 for Tamworth. We've got Wright in goal, Briggs, Johnson, Scar and Killer Ferreri, Campbell and Murray-Holmes in midfield, McEachran, Petrie, Clark and Hugill in attack. Just going to say to the squad that our home form is important to us. Again, let's just solidify that the MG Group Stadium is our fortress. Let's get that back to winning ways. If we know we can lock in wins constantly at home, we're going to be laughing in terms of the rest of the season. But that's been the question mark. Obviously, we have won the last 3 games at home, which is great. Let's go on and try and win the 4th. I'm not counting the Man United under 21s in that, by the way, because it wasn't a game that I was even really, I guess, bad for me to say. I wasn't really that bothered about us winning it, hence why I rotated the whole squad to keep it fresh. I'd rather concentrate on the league than that National League Cup group sort of stage that we're in at the moment. Hugo's there, can't unfortunately turn that into the back of the net. Keeper makes a good save. But so far, so good. We see the first highlight. It's going our way. 1 shot on target, 2 shots overall. Petrie tries to get Hugo in. Hugo's heading is not his strong point, even though, I mean, we did just see him score 2 goals against Scarborough Athletic with heading. But in terms of getting onto the end of balls, he much prefers to be played to feet. Oh, Hugo, nice interception there into Petrie. Takes the long shot. I mean, it was never really going to go in from there, let's be honest. It's a bit of a waste of an opportunity and waste of a bit of attacking momentum. Goal kick here for Tamworth. Tamworth play it out from the back. Can they beat our press? As you can see, we have bodies all around. Clark, lovely bit of pressing and wins the ball back. Killer Ferreri takes on his man, beats him, puts the ball in. There's Hugill. And of course, he scores with his head. Curse of the commentator. I'm just going to keep saying that he's really bad at heading. And then hopefully that will just be the secret for him to get in. Remember, obviously, we're not getting the fullbacks to go to the byline. We're getting them to try and hit a slight earlier cross. And Hugo does very well with the header, to be fair to him. So I can't complain. A good start to this afternoon. This is 17 minutes played, 1-0 up. Remember, Tamworth were quite near the bottom of the table, though. So a result that we would expect to win, right? A result that we would expect to pick up against them. They're currently sitting 21st with 8 points. That win, or if it carries on this way, it will obviously mean that we end up in 5th. So, again, we're there or thereabouts still, but there's still question marks with regards to their overall finances from what we've just seen. It can't be reliant on me or us as a team and the boys on the pitch to perform in the FA Cup and continuously go above expectations just to balance the books. There needs to be some form of investment from elsewhere to be able to take the club to the next level, and that's something that we'll be asking the board. We did ask them to look for another senior affiliate, try and bring some money into the club by arranging a relationship there. They can't find anyone, so I don't know if anyone else has had problems with senior affiliates in this FM. I feel like this FM is so hard to find a senior affiliate. I've tried it to ask about loaning young players without the wage expectations, asked about bringing it in for extra finances into the club, because usually you can get like an annual fee from them, and nothing seems to work. And the only senior affiliate we have at the moment is actually Oxford United, who very rarely want to loan us a player. We managed to pick that guy up at the end of last season for a few games, but other than that, they won't let him come back to me, and they also won't let me loan anyone else that they've got. Question is it even worth having them as a senior affiliate at that point? Probably not. But I daren't upset them too much and obviously look to cancel that, considering we do share the city, let's say, and at the moment we are the smaller club in Oxford at the moment. Maybe one day we'll become the bigger team in Oxford and they'll be asking us to be their senior affiliate. Who knows? or just an affiliate. But 50 minutes played, Briggs into Petrie, linking up nicely. Briggs on the overlap, puts the ball in. Hugel's there with the header. Ooh, keeper makes good save to put that behind for a corner. We won't see the corner. Of course we will not. But I'm not disappointed with the squad now. I feel like there's still one or two areas that we could improve on. Clark's still performing exceptionally well, but the wingers, definitely in the summer, we might look to try and bring a winger in if we do offload Killafereri. I mean, we're probably going to need a left back, even though Francis can play there, but he is obviously a lot better than Francis. So do we invest the money from Killafereri into a winger? Problem being, where we're 200 grand in debt, I did get, say, 100 grand for him. They're going to pretty much use most of that to try and wipe off some of the debt of the club, aren't they? So it may not actually go in our favour to sell him. We'll be in a weakest position. We won't have another player to come into the fold instead of him. And then all of a sudden we go, okay, well, now we're in a problem because we don't have anyone else that we can sort of rely on. God, I'm going to have to bring on Taylor Medway in the winger position. Hopefully, James, that's on loan from Spurs, comes back from injury ASAP, because that is a position where, with Westendorf sometimes dropping down onto the reserves, not even on the bench, we do lack some sort of coverage in the wing positions. Especially if we want to play Mellor just more as an out-and-out striker, which I think that's still his best position, or a cam, and we're not playing with cams now. We've even had to uproot McEachran, who was so influential in that cam role. Why did we see that highlight? Who was so influential in that cam role to try and pack out that midfield a little bit more and get a bit more of a foothold in games. And it's been working, right? So we're sacrificing, losing maybe his influential impact a little bit, but we're still winning games. So we have to make them sacrifices from time to time. He's already the leading appearance maker now for Oxford City, so I've been loyal to him. And he's still in the team. He's just in a bit more of a deeper spot. Get rid of that. Oh, how are we conceding now? 91st minute. We were in control of the game. What even happens here? It comes off Johnson. It's just unlucky that that just falls straight to their player. It's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And remember, these are 20th in the league. But a 1-1 draw at home, I'm just going to put... I mean, we were just unlucky. It was an awful deflection off of Johnson. It hits him on the waist. He's not got no control over where that goes. But that result now leaves us in 8th, 10 games played, and 15 points overall. That result brings Tamworth out of the playoffs, which I guess is good for them, bad for us. In terms of the actual table, if we have a look at the full table, our goal difference is 0. We've conceded 12. We've gone from being one of the most defensively solid teams. I mean, we're not the worst. Accrington have conceded 21 goals this season. That is actually mental. But what the plan will be moving forward, I'm probably going to play up to maybe the Rochdale game. Or maybe I'll show us the Macclesfield game again, because again, they are still the team that we want to constantly beat. They pipped us to the post in that first season, if you remember rightly. But then again, we have seen them. So maybe we'll bring us back to another game that we haven't seen too many of us play. Potentially. I'll see how things are going in terms of the league form. It will either be the Macclesfield game, maybe the Torquay game. We haven't seen us play Torquay yet. We could have Torquay and then Accrington. Arguably, they're top of the league at the moment and they're bottom of the league. So depending on how form goes, it could be that we come back for a double header around the middle of November. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Please don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't done so already. It helps obviously a lot more than you know. Leave a comment down below. Whereabouts should I look to sort of strengthen it? Where are our weak points? I think if we're going to carry on playing them three in midfield, remember we've only got Tom Scott, who's a natural midfielder. We have got Alan Appleby, but he's still a youngster coming through and he's not as determined as Killafereri, so he's not going to improve as well or as quick. So I feel like a centre mid, potentially a left back if Killafereri does get nabbed from us, and a winger, really. I think there's still some strengthening in the squad to do. It's not a bad squad, but it's not a great squad by all means. But thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you're new around here to continue watching the journey, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.